Yeah.
Welcome to the Wise Take DFS podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined here with my boy KamG333. You can find him on Twitter at KamG333. What's going on, Cam? How you doing?
Well, I just watched Brian Bulaga go down with another knee injury, which is the Packers' right tackle, so that's always good. Missing our right tackle and now Aaron Rodgers, so perfect.
It's a great time to be a Packers fan.
Just a great time. I love it. I'm enjoying every second of it. I'm used to like going 10-6, 12-4, and now I'm just watching one of the worst teams in the league. But what can you do? Oh well.
Man, I said it to you before. I'll say it again on this show. I'm a Jet fan, so I don't feel bad for you. You're spoiled. I don't feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for Yankee fans. I barely feel bad for Giant fans. It's just they've been so bad that I do feel bad a little bit. But just a little bit. But anyway, so what we decided to do was we were releasing one YouTube show for football, and it's a great show. We got 4 guys on usually at a time, all very awesome guys. Cam, you're one of those guys that's usually on the shows, but we wanted to provide more coverage, and we have so many guys. We wanted to get some of our exposure, get some of our guys to be able to give the takes they need to give on a regular basis. So we're gonna try to release a few more NFL videos and podcasts throughout the week. Think of this one as an early look. The difference is on Wednesday, they go position by position, and we are going to be going game by game on this one with just myself and Cam. It's Monday. It's early in the week. It's a real early week podcast. We don't have any news out, so, everything by Wednesday or Thursday could be out the window anyway. But I got to cheer Cam up because the NFL season has been rough for his Packers, so he feels good when he comes up here and he talks about NFL DFS. And I got to give you props, Cam. Obviously, guys, for those of you that don't know, Cam is one of our writers, our NFL DFS analyst over at Wise Take, and he writes our FanDuel GPP articles every week. His play of the day was Jared Goff for quarterbacks, who was the nuts. Awesome game. He said in the article he loved the passing attack, he loved Goff with Gurley, and it all worked out. So Cam, shout out to you, my man. Good job with your article this week.
Yeah, thank you. I think another thing that I saw was Sean McVay was coming back to play the Giants again, and he was the offensive coordinator for Washington the last couple of years, so he knew the Giants pretty well. They were coming off a bye, so I like that matchup a lot, and I just like the Rams in general. I think they're like one of the highest scoring teams point per game this year, so definitely one I like attacking. So.
Yeah, they definitely have it together, and I did play Goff. I was talking to you, and me and you both made the same mistake. We played Goff, we played Gurley. It's just we picked the wrong receiver to go with him.
Yeah.
I think you had Cup, I had Watkins. So Watkins did okay, but Robert Woods was obviously the guy you needed to have in that stack. But one thing that's interesting is we're seeing a consistent trend for tournaments is triple stacks are what's doing it. It's not just a lot of people think that they're good taking a quarterback and a receiver, but if you look, man, if you can get the stack right, it's really been one quarterback with 2 receiving options at least that have been doing this. So
it's either like a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and then you can get that running back too in there if he's involved in the receiving game, like you and I were talking about. Gurley, when he goes off, it's usually through the receiving game, so you and I weren't really too worried about pairing those two together, but that's for sure.
That is correct. That's one thing I'll say. In most circumstances, I don't like to take the running back and quarterback together, but there's some situations like Gurley, for instance, it's a different scenario than a Zeke Dak. I'll take Zeke and Dak together, but that's only because that I think when Zeke is successful, it allows Dak to be successful. It's not that I'm looking for the pass. When it comes to Gurley, exactly what you said, I'm looking for Goff to throw it to him because, like you were just saying, when Gurley has some of his biggest games, he usually has a lot of targets that day too, and that was the case. Gurley should have had one more touchdown. He got tackled at the 1 on a screen. He ran a 50-yard
don't
screen.
Tell me that.
He got tackled right at the goal line. Instead of trying to review it, I didn't get to see the highlights the replay because the Rams didn't even want to question it. They ran up to the line to try to catch the Giants off guard and run it in, and Gurley got stuffed. And then the touchdown went to Robert Woods. So that's a little bit of what you missed because you didn't get to watch that game. But But yeah, you were right on, man. You sniffed it out. Kamara was also a top play, and he was the guy you had to have. Highest scoring running back on the slate. Outscored Zeke, Kareem Hunt, everybody. So, and he's another one. He's another one that, like, it wasn't the case this week, but, like, he's a running back you can stack with the quarterback. He's a guy that, like, if you really, really want to do a Drew Brees Saints onslaught in any other week, like, he's a guy you can definitely count on for that. Like, you can just pair. Like, I wouldn't play Brees and Ingram together. I just wouldn't.
No.
But I love Brees and Kamara. I had Brees and Kamara lineups. So, like, that's the only problem is that all my Kamara lineups had Brees, who didn't hold his end of the bargain. But yeah, great call, man. The winning recipe, man. Like, if you think about it, like, aside from and like, it's like that's like right there. T.Y. Hilton, Robert Woods. Well, Robert Woods probably wasn't even a necessity. I think he was so low owned that like you didn't have to have him, but you needed T.Y. Hilton because at least on DraftKings, he was mega chalk. You had to have T.Y. Hilton.
Yep.
And like, yeah, I gotta say, man, like golf 5% on DraftKings. I know you write a FanDuel article, but I mean, it's all the same plays. You're just writing it from a FanDuel perspective. But it's still, if he's a good play on FanDuel, it's probably.
Well, what was he on DraftKings? Like 5,500, I think.
Yes.
So
yes,
he went
is a
like
great price.
Whatever X that was. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
I think he did it on 22 attempts too, which is kind of impressive. Like,
it was so
like
efficient, and like you can see with these the giant defense, like they're all discombobulated. They're all kinds of like, you know what I mean? Like you can just see there's something there's issues there, and like on top of that, like the Giants have been playing bad, and then you have Jared Goff coming in like off a bye, so they've had an entire extra week to prepare for a bad defense to begin with. It's like they just came, they had their game plan, they knew where they could beat them, and they did. And so, you know, that was fun, man. That was fun.
Another thing I've been doing, too, with the FanDuel article is I've been optimizing it at the end of the week. So I went back and I just looked at the top plays at each position. So I went in this week, I did Goff, Gurley, Kamara, some of my cheaper wideouts since I was paying up at running back. I think like Ginn, Funchess, and then Kelsey at tight end, Jags D, and then whatever kicker you threw in. The one I used was Jags kicker, but that would have scored like 164 if you used all. Obviously, you got to pair them right, but we're on the right track. So.
We're on the right track, man, and there's still a lot of football left. So without further ado, let's go ahead and tap into some of these games. So Cam, it's early in the week, man. There's a lot of news that can change, so I don't want to wear you out this early in the week. Obviously, to get your final takes, we're hoping that people will check us out at wisetake.com. We have a free trial. I'm going to throw that in for just a quick plug. Free trial, 7 days. You sign up for a month of our sports package, and you get of the all sports package, you get 7 days for free. If you're not satisfied within those 7 days, you can simply cancel your subscription, and you'll never be charged. So it's worth a shot. Head over to wisetake.com and do that for us. So Cam writes the FanDuel articles is for our members only, the FanDuel GPP articles, I should say, so you're going to want to catch that. We got cash game articles for both. We have a cash game article, and then we have the FanDuel and DraftKings GPP articles separate that Cam and Matty Ice write for us. So let's go ahead and break it down. We don't have to go too deep, but let's just overview of the game, what your thoughts. So we're going to start off with New Orleans at Buffalo. Pretty fitting considering we were just talking about your boy Kamara. Start me off here, man. Just your first look. It's a Monday, dude. It's early. What are your first thoughts here?
For sure. So my first thoughts here are New Orleans on the road at Buffalo, kind of a physical game. I probably won't be on much of the Saints here. I usually like to get the Saints in the Superdome. Kamara's somewhat interesting just because he's been a stud and very consistent this year, like 11, 20, 10, 13, 15, 28, and that's on FanDuel. So even better on DraftKings over there with the PPR. And I don't know. I think this game, though, might fit Mark Ingram's style more, a more physical type game. Buffalo just traded away Marcel Darius, so they're a little weaker up front. I know their secondary's been banged up too, so Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn. To me, I was thinking about this in my head the other day. Like, to me, Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn are almost identical when it comes to like fantasy production wise. Like, if you look at Michael Thomas, he's 7, 11, 18, 18, 2, 11, 11, and 10. And then you get Ted Ginn, and he's at almost 2K cheaper than him, and he's at 7-3, 12, 4, 14, 17, 7, and 13. So I mean, you're paying for a little higher floor for Michael Thomas, but you're saving about 2K. So to me, I prefer Ginn. And then on the other side of the ball, you get Tyrod Taylor, who I probably won't have too much interest in. Lattimore, man, he's just been a beast for the Saints, getting in that altercation with um, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, and famous Jameis. So that was interesting to see. I like the fire this week in the NFL, all those fights. But then we got Kelvin Benjamin too for Buffalo, and we'll have to see how he fits into that offense. And just a quick look at the slate, like Shady McCoy coming off a 2-point FanDuel game, I believe, against against your Jets. So that was kind of a weird game, one of those Thursday night games. I could see him bouncing back here against a New Orleans team that's somewhat leaky towards the run. Pretty good pass defense, but I think they're bottom tier against the run. So I have a little bit of interest in McCoy. I have to look into it a little more, but I think he could get overlooked this week a little bit, especially with the guys at the top when you're looking at him. I think he might get missed here, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Shady McCoy is the obvious standout to me. He did bust against the Jets, but the Jets are deceptively good run defense. They still have players that are pretty good at clogging up the run. And so they're not as good as they have been in years past, but they are good enough to where if they're at home on a short week, like it's going to be tough to break through against them. I faded him last week from that game. So I do think this is a great bounce back spot. When he's at home, I think that people might get a little too happy that Benjamin's there. But remember, Benjamin's going to draw their best corner, who is actually pretty good for the Saints. The Saints' pass defense is pretty damn good this year, and it took me a while. It took me a while to really accept that, but I finally have accepted it, and it's the truth. They're a lot better. They're much improved. Probably the most improved thing of any other team in the offseason. So. With that said, their run defense is still terrible, and the trick to the Saints is to not let them get ahead. That's
correct.
You want to be able to run the ball. You don't want to be forced to throw, especially not with Tyrod Taylor. Nothing against him, but that's not really his deal. We like his upside because his red zone presence, his head, and his legs. That's really why we like Tyrod in general. So. With that said, I think Tyrod is still fine if you want to go that route because he does have that rushing upside, and he's 6'3" on DraftKings. I don't think I could do that. I just don't think I could. It's a longer rest, but I think on the Buffalo side, McCoy is the only play for me that I want. And then on the other side, Ginn, maybe Robbie Anderson did catch a bomb against these guys, and Ginn's the deep guy. Michael Thomas is obviously the possession guy. So Thomas is okay, but I think like you said, I think lately it seems like Ginn has shown just as much opportunity as Thomas. So it's why not take the discount, right?
Yep, I agree for sure. Buffalo was banged up in the secondary a little bit on that Thursday night game, so we'll have to see I think EJ Gaines was out, so we'll have to see if he comes back. If he's out, that's a huge difference in that defense. But they also have a stud corner out of LSU, I believe, who's playing pretty well. I think it's Latavius White or something along those lines, but he's one of those top rookie corners coming out of that draft, and he's a pretty solid player. All in all, I just don't really have all that much interest in this game besides the LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, talk to me about Green Bay, your boys. I know that you're a little upset at them right now as you're watching Monday Night Football, but they have a matchup with a very tough defense, and a very tough defense at home in the Chicago Bears. It's a rivalry game, but it got Trubisky against Hundley. Not exactly the matchup that we were thinking we were going to see this year. But go ahead, Cam. Talk to me about your boys.
This is brutal, dude. Looking at this game, oh, man, there's not much here. The passing games are going to be very limited in this one. I'm watching this game right now, and they're not letting Hundley throw the ball more than 15 yards down the field. Devontae Adams is getting some looks, so I'll probably have a little bit of interest in him. They're kind of dumping it off short. I don't mind him. I know the Bears defense kind of limits number one wide receivers, and I don't really want to play Jordy anyway with Huntley. My favorite person in this game will be Jordan Howard. There's like a rare few guys that you can get in the NFL now that don't really have a timeshare. And I know Cohen's somewhat there, but he doesn't really take away rushing attempts from Howard, and he'll get used a little bit in the pass game. But Howard, for the most part, probably gets 80% of that running back production out of Chicago. And I just think that at 7.2K on FanDuel, he's way undervalued for what he gives you. Like, he's going to give you probably about 20 to 25 carries, and I would project maybe 2 or 3 targets in this one, depending how the game goes. I think he'll probably be in my main lineup, just like knowing he's 7.2, getting all the carries. I like that. And then another thing that I like is the Bears defense at home. They're like a stingy defense. They're one of the better like red zone defenses this year as well. So you pair that with a team who's struggling to score anyway. I don't think they'll give up many points, and there's always a chance of a turnover. Hopefully we can get a touchdown out of them at 4.3K on FanDuel against a rookie. Well, not a rookie quarterback, but someone who's making his first and second and third NFL starts. So I think my only interest will be Jordan Howard and Bears defense in this one.
Yeah, it's a strong correlation play. I'd have to agree with you. We like the volume on DraftKings. Jordan Howard at 6'1". I think he's way underpriced. That's a phenomenal price for him. The last time he was priced down, he was 5'9" against Baltimore on DraftKings, and he got 21 points. 36 attempts that game, but his volume is secure. Like, he's going to see. Yeah. And like, the only time where his volume is not so secure is when he's in a situation where he's going to be trailing, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. But this is the Packers with Huntley, so the playing field's a lot more even. In fact, probably technically Trubisky has more experience, so it's like, what I mean?
No kidding.
And the Packers defense is not great. We're watching Matt Stafford kind of pick them apart with Marvin Jones. So I love the spot for Howard. And the correlation with the D, that's phenomenal. The only thing that worries me about the D is they seem safe, but the issue is, like you said, they're not really letting Huntley throw. So I'm a little bit concerned with the upside that we can see. But you don't want to stay away at defense because you're concerned about upside. You want to play the best defense that's in the best spot. And I think you're right. I think the Bears are one of those peak teams that are in the best spot. So I would have to agree with you.
With defense, you can't really predict touchdowns or anything, so we're just looking for the spot. To touch off what you were saying too, if they get down, we're worried about Howard. Howard's been, I think the Bears actually play the second slowest pace in the NFL when they're still trailing by 6 or more points as well.
They're not trying to. They're trying to just get through the games without being embarrassed.
Exactly. They're trying to make Trubisky look like a decent number 2.
They don't want to mess up his confidence. They want to just let him ease into the process.
So I think Howard is gonna he gets as many opportunities as those guys at the top, like Gurley, Bell, Zeke, and Leonard Fournette and Shady McCoy. Like, not as many opportunities, I shouldn't say, but as secure of a role in that offense as those guys are, I should say. Maybe phrase that a little bit better. But I feel comfortable playing him at 7.2K, knowing what I'm going to get.
Yeah, and again, on DraftKings, his price is just scrumptious. I mean...
Oh, yeah, that's insane.
That's insane. The volume, and he's a pass catcher. He catches passes, too.
Yep, exactly.
So anyway,
I like that.
Let's move it on over here. Let's talk about Cleveland at Detroit. Detroit is putting it to your boys, but they were coming off of a bye. Now, Cleveland is coming off of a bye, I believe, right? They're coming off of a bye.
Yep.
But they are pretty damn bad. What are your thoughts on this game initially, Cam?
Initially, I think I'm going to want a lot of Stafford and a lot of Golden Tate and a lot of Marvin Jones. They just look really good right now. I watched them against Pittsburgh, and although Stafford only had 18 FanDuel points, they're willing to go downfield and take shots downfield and use Marvin Jones down the field, and at 6.4K, I really like that price for him. He's getting a lot of targets. He's getting peppered with targets right now in this game. And the 2 games before that, he had 14 and 11. So last 2 games, 18 and 16 on FanDuel pretty much. So at 6.4K, I think there's a really good chance he can hit that 3x value mark for us. And he's a good pair with Stafford. On the Cleveland side of the ball, no way. Like, I'm not going to touch that at all. Maybe some interest in Detroit's defense at 5.3K. What? Is this like a joke? FanDuel has Cleveland Browns defense at 3.5K. Isn't that like way? Go on FanDuel if you can quick. Cleveland is priced at 3.5K, their defense.
Oh my gosh, they're daring you. They're just
they're like daring you. Yeah, for real though. I mean, man, that's crazy. That is crazy. If it lets you fit guys in, I might consider that at 3.5. Just with the way defense is, you never know. They gave up 33 points to Minnesota and still scored 4 points. So that would be 1x if you needed to fit in a guy. I don't. If
you play him, you have to just tweet, like, you have to live by the hashtag, like, anything but zero. Like, if you're playing the Browns against anybody, even at 3.5, like, you're like, all right, I'm playing this from a price standpoint, so. Like, if you get me a 4 or a 2, give me a 0 even. Just don't get me a negative. It's just like, that's what you're hoping for.
Exactly. But I think I can't do that.
Yeah, no way.
It's at Ford Field too in Detroit, so like this is a super good spot for the Lions. So I'm gonna want all that pass game. And Cleveland funnels towards the pass. Their run defense is pretty good. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree. I know it's early in the week. We'll probably have more disagreements towards the end, but like on the first initial thoughts of the game, one guy that stands out to me is Ebron. The only problem is you do have to worry about what's his name? I think it's Fells.
Darren Fells.
Darren Fells. You have to worry about him. He's been kind of vulturing Ebron's touchdowns lately. But the Titans, the Detroit will use the tight end in the right matchup, and Cleveland is always the right matchup against tight ends.
Yep.
So this is a great spot, especially at home for a guy like him. I can see Golden Tate and Marvin Jones being a very popular combination with Stafford. Mm-hmm. Don't forget about Ebron. He's only 3-1 on DraftKings, super cheap. Even in today's game, he didn't have a huge explosive game, but he got targets. He got 3 catches for 300 yards. So for his price and the matchup, it's phenomenal. But yeah, man, it's hard. Like my thing is, I don't care how cheap a defense is. Like, the way it's been this year is if you really want to win serious money, you have to get your defense right.
Oh, 100%.
If you want to win a GPP, you have to get that defense that scores 30 points. If you want to place in a GPP, your defense needs to at least get you 10. You need double digits.
Oh.
Like it's a big deal. And so
at the beginning of the year, that's where I went wrong for the first 5-6 weeks. I kept trying to play. I immediately scrolled down and I was like, I want to save at kicker and I want to save at defense because I want to try and get as much out of my position players. Well, I was getting 6s and 5s at special teams, and a lot of these other guys were getting like combined 30 points out of it. So you already had a 25-point disadvantage against that. So I just started paying up at defense. So I'm this last week I went with Jags and I went like an expensive kicker because I want to get those points, for sure. So I agree with you 100%. Like you're gonna need those defensive points to win a GPP.
Yeah, and I will say the Lions' defense is obviously in a great spot. One thing that's already interesting is we've liked the Chicago defense and the Detroit defense so far. Only 3 games in, and Detroit on DraftKings is 3.8, while the Bears are only 3K. So that's interesting. Okay. But obviously, there's more upside here with Detroit because Kaiser will throw, and he's not very good at it.
And he gets sacked.
And he gets sacked a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's move it on over. Let's talk about Pittsburgh at Indiana. Seems like a very similar matchup to this Detroit game, except maybe 2 teams that are a little bit better on both ends. What are your thoughts here?
Yep. So Pittsburgh's coming off a bye, I believe. Going into Indy at the Dome. That's a nice spot for the Steelers. I'm really interested in AB against this Indianapolis secondary. I think on the turf, no one's going to be able to guard them for Indy. They're one of the worst pass defenses this year. And 31st versus the pass. So this is a smash spot for AB. He's gotten 25, but he hasn't had like a super big multi blowout touchdown game. So I think this could be a really good spot for him, and I'm really tempted to pay up for him. Another guy, who would you pick if you had to right now? I know it's super early in the week, but when I was looking at this, I wanted to like run it through my head, and Bell or Brown, sorry.
Whew. Man, they're both so expensive.
Bell is 100 more.
I would take
on FanDuel.
I would almost always take Bell, and it has nothing to do with the individual players or their matchups. They're both in like just delicious matchups. It's just with running back, there's so much less variance. Like Antonio Brown still has to catch the balls. Ben Roethlisberger still has to throw the balls to him, right? Like at least with Bell, we know his touches are going to be there. He's going to touch the ball X amount of times. We know this. So like if I had to pick one early, it would be Bell. But I love Brown. I mean, come on. I mean, how do you not? Like, you love them both. And that's why DraftKings and FanDuel priced them both up. Because they know people are going to want these guys. Coming off a bye?
I've been waiting. I've just been waiting for I haven't played Brown all year. I've just been waiting for a spot. Actually, I take that back. I played them once when I paired Ben, Bell, and AB. But other than that, like, I haven't played him as, like, a one-off or anything. And I think this is a super good spot for him. Especially coming off the bye. So I like him a lot. And then on the other side, TY again is interesting. He got priced back up on FanDuel to 7.5, but researching a primetime slate last week and just watching the game, the Steelers were getting beat on the deep ball quite a bit, and we know that's where TY just feeds off of. So if Brissett can get time, I know it's going to be tough with that Steelers defense, but if he can get time, I could see TY doing damage again this week like he did last week. So I'll have some interest in probably the passing games in this one more than Bell, just because he's so expensive, but like he's always a smash play. Like you can't argue anyone who's going to play Bell.
Yeah, you really can. This is a phenomenal spot for them. I think, like, one thing for sure, like, I like Big Ben in general, but what we've seen this year, plus he's on the road, it's a great matchup for him, but, like, I think I would rather get my exposure to the offense through Bell and Brown. Like, I would rather find a way to play Bell and Brown both before I tried to play Roethlisberger with one of those guys.
Yep.
Just, my first initial reaction. Obviously, you got Juju Smith-Schuster. It's a great matchup for him. But like you said, like Brown hasn't really had that feast game yet, and like I know he's probably fiending for it. They're coming off of a bye. Make no mistake about it, Antonio Brown is still the number one option, and if they can go to him, they will. So Juju Schuster, he's worth a look, and his price is obviously a much cheaper exposure to that game. But I expect him to be a little bit more popular because of the fact that he's so cheap. So that's my initial take. And as far as I think the Steelers defense is interesting here too. The Steelers coming off of a bye, a little more rested. They got some pass rushers here, and that's been the Colts' biggest problem is they have a hard time. And people don't give Brissett enough credit. Like I like Brissett, and I know it's amazing that I hopped off the T.Y. Hilton train after being on it for 2 weeks in terrible matchups. But one thing about Brissett is he gets rid of the ball really quick. Like the sacks are really not his fault. He does everything in his power to get rid of that ball. He just can't. He can't throw it. He got to throw it to somebody. He just got nobody to throw it to. When Hilton's covered, that's it. Moncrief is doing terrible. Aiken can't catch. Like it's crazy. So, he's at home. So I guess in GPPs, like it is worth a look, especially if people are going to hop off Hilton, which I think they will. But like I would imagine Joe Hayden is going to shadow Hilton everywhere. And I don't really want to mess with that dude, man. I respect that dude's defense. So I'm probably, with that said, if I don't like Hilton, that means I don't really like anybody. I guess Doyle, right? Like they're at home, so we could see another Doyle game. This could be another Doyle game.
That's true. Yeah, I guess I kind of overlooked Doyle.
I can't believe it. Doyle rules. We say it all the time, and we both kind of forgot about him.
I've had him on a couple teams this year, but it's
I had him that day. He bailed me out the other week when he had that monster game. I had him and Brissett in my main line. Brissett didn't do so well, but he bailed me out huge, man. Doyle rules.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not a bad play at all. For sure.
Then again, it looks like Pittsburgh's actually second in the league against tight end PDOA, so maybe for another thing. But their receivers are giving it up, so I don't know, man. It's rough, man. Those other guys can't catch. Maybe more than that. They're pretty bad against pass catching running backs.
Are you getting like some fuzzy feed in your headphones?
No, that's probably just coming from.
Oh, there you go. You fixed it. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I don't hear it anymore.
Did you hear it the whole time or just for that little bit?
Just for a little bit.
Awesome. Perfect news. What I wanted to hear. All right, with that said, let's move it on over to the next game. We got the Los Angeles Chargers. It feels so weird saying that. I almost said the Clippers. I see the LAC. I still can't. Visiting the Jacksonville Jaguars, in my opinion, the best defense overall in the league.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts here?
Let me pull up the game quick and yeah, I mean, I'm not this game. I don't have much interest in this game at all. Like, I don't respect much of the Chargers offense. Like, they're not anybody I want to target on a big slate. There's a lot better options. The only guy I have a lot of interest in this game is going to be Fournette. Like, he's always in play every week. Chargers are not good versus the run. I've played a couple running backs against them, and it's paid off this year. Let me look up their games against who they're playing. But I'm definitely, like, I made a dummy lineup, and I had Howard and Fournette as my 2 running backs on FanDuel. So he's coming off like a 2-week kind of bye for him as well. Like, they had that bye week, and then he got suspended for this last game, which was kind of a weird thing. I guess they knew on like Wednesday, but they didn't say anything till Sunday morning, which was nice. So I definitely have interest in Fournette because the Chargers ranked 31st versus the run. Other than that, like, I don't have any interest in this game. I know people might say that the Jags can get beat again, like with the tight end or whatever, but I don't buy into that all that much. I just think like this defense is so good. They're by far the best defense in the NFL, and I don't really want to play anyone against them. So that's all I got is Fournette.
Yeah, I like Fournette. I even like the Jacksonville defense a little bit here as well. No surprise.
Oh, yeah.
In most situations when we like the running back, the defense is typically a little appealing to at least. And obviously we mentioned that we just like their defense in general. If I play Fournette, I will not play Gordon, but I do think that like in deeper fields, like I wouldn't do this in anything that you're expecting any kind of safety for, because I do believe that he has a low floor in the situation. But Melvin Gordon is priced right. And according to DVOA, I know it's hard to believe, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are still ranked last in DVOA against the run. I don't think Gordon is. Don't get me wrong. I know you like Gordon because of the Wisconsin. You know, I know all that. You got a connection with him, but he's not like your same typical explosive back. He's a back that survives purely on volume. Just give him the ball 20 times, and eventually he may break one, or he may eventually catch a red zone touchdown. You know what I mean? So with that said, like just the red zone touchdowns alone, like it may be hard for them to get down there, but once they're down there, there's a good chance that Gordon's going to be the guy that gets the touchdown. Because of exactly what you said, because their corners are so damn good. It's going to be very hard for these guys to get open. So, you know, early look, man, like I see Rivers under a lot of pressure, and I can see, you know, when Rivers is under pressure, we know he likes to just chuck it up, and I can see some turnovers. So, first look, I have to agree with you with this, man. Fournette.
Are they coming off a bye, too?
The Chargers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
yes.
So. Yep.
The Chargers are coming off a bye, and that worries me a little bit. I don't like to mess with some teams coming off of a bye, but the Jacksonville Jags are pretty rested, and like you said, he's 2 weeks rested, and I'm sure he's going to want to make up for getting suspended. So
I was just thinking, like, for Melvin Gordon's sake, I think that's a plus that they were coming off a bye because he's kind of been hobbled by some injury. I don't know if you saw that like run he had against the Patriots, but
I rostered him that day. I definitely saw it.
He looked slower than he did when I watched him play in college. Like I watched every single game he played in college, and like you said, he's a volume guy. Like he'll run like 3 yards per carry, and then he'll just bust one like for 90, like he did that one time. But I think that definitely benefits. And we've seen the Jags give up some big run plays, so I agree. I think that's a good GPP call. I don't think anyone will play him, especially he's priced right, like you said, for sure. So I like that.
Yeah, I'm with it. All right, let's move it on over to my boys, man. We got my New York Jets visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it sounds like Jameis Winston is going to miss a few weeks, so it seems like Fitzmagic, that's what we used to call him when he was a Jet. We used to call him Fitzmagic. He is going to be the guy. He's going to get his shot at some revenge. What are your thoughts? Talk to me about Tampa and the Jets.
So I think with Jameis out, it's interesting because I think Fitzpatrick is just like a gunslinger. Like he's just gonna go in there, throw it, and not really care. So, but Mike Evans is suspended now for whatever he did against the Saints, which is weird. Like, so we don't have him in this one. So that leaves Deshaun Jackson kind of by himself in that wide receiving core. They have Adam Humphries and a couple other guys I've never heard of. So I wouldn't be surprised if they run Cameron Brate and OJ Howard in like a double tight end type look almost all the time, because I can't see them running out Deshaun Jackson, Adam Humphries, and like their third and fourth string wide receivers. So they either probably run it or do that. So I think OJ Howard's an interesting play. I'm not sure what he is on DraftKings, but I think he could get like a very high usage bump in this matchup without Mike Evans, just by default, because they don't really have anyone else. Another guy I've been targeting, or just looking through it, Matt Forte is kind of interesting to me. Like he's 5.6 on FanDuel, and I know he's 4.4 on DraftKings over there. It just seems like they always, like, I don't know, you'll have to talk to me more about it, but it just seems like the Jets always want to use him if they can. Like, if he's healthy, it seems like they always want him to be the guy. And he gets so many targets out of the pass game, and I don't know, I think he's a good play this week. I'll have to look into it more, but my gut first look instinct is telling me that I kind of want to have some exposure to him. I don't know. You'll have to tell me more. You're the Jets guy, but
to Forte?
Yeah.
My only problem with Forte is I think he will have some ownership. He's only 4-4 on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
He's coming off of a monster game. And I don't think people realize that it's not just Forte and Powell anymore. Like, they're still working in that third guy. I forget his name.
Yeah,
I know, I'm a worst Jet fan either. McGuire, yeah. Yeah, they're still working. They're still even working him in there. So like it's not a lock. Like, this is a great matchup. Tampa Bay is like, they're terrible defensively.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they're really bad from pretty much every angle. And but like, I think that this could be a game better suited for Powell, because out of the two, Powell is way more explosive. So, like, if you look,
100%.
like, I would have compared, like, I'm not really comparing these guys for real, but in the standard of how they're used, I feel like Kamara got a bunch of extra reps. It was clear that they were punishing Ingram. Like, they started off the gate giving Kamara handoffs when he's normally the pass-catching guy. But with that said, Kamara had some big pass-catching plays against Tampa, and I think Powell's better suited for those explosive kind of plays, like, and don't get me wrong, Forte made a career out of catching passes, but he's also older. So I think with Forte, there's typically more catch and tackle, whereas Powell can catch the ball and really take off. So I think I'm leaning towards Powell, but it's murky. And the other thing to consider is Tampa Bay is one of the fastest-paced teams in the league this year. But keep in mind, with the quarterback change, that could change. They could end up going very slow. They're missing Evans. They're missing their offense is all screwed up now. So they could very well just say, screw it. We're just going to go slow today. And and that could throw people off. But I think the Jets' passing game is interesting here. McCown is priced up on DraftKings. He's 6'1". Josh McCown, 6'1". Wow, in the 6 tiers. But he's been doing it,
he's
man.
He's 7.4 on FanDuel, too.
He's been doing it, man.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, he's even shown us upside against New England and Miami this year. He put up 25s on DraftKings. Like, his worst game was against Jacksonville. Everybody's worst game was against Jacksonville. So it's like...
Oh, yeah, you can't blame him for that.
At this point, especially against his defense, like, he seems relatively safe. And so, like, I got to have interest in McCown, and I'll obviously...
Jets D is interesting, too, now that I'm looking at it.
The Jets D, too. But, like, you know what, though? Like, if Evans was playing, I would be very interested in the revenge narrative spot for Fitz, man. Because the only time the NFL revenge guys can really do it is if the quarterback's the guy. Because he's got the ball in his hands, so he can just ball out. And Fitz could do it, man. The Jets' defense isn't great. Their secondary is trash. They got some good players, but their secondary, man, they get thrown out all the time. So
Yep.
He could, but he's missing a very serious weapon. It's interesting. I would imagine
seem like they have a weapon. Yeah.
I would imagine that, like you said, maybe they'll run some double tight end formations, and they're going to try to force the ball down Deshaun Jackson's throat. It's good because, like, even when he came in relief, like Deshaun Jackson was the guy he was throwing to. He wasn't throwing in what was it, 2 weeks ago? Not last week, but 2 weeks ago when Jameis got hurt and left, and they brought in Fitz. Fitz threw a touchdown to Deshaun Jackson that day, not Evans. So, him and Humphreys, this could be where you get your value from, these Tampa Bay guys. And the Jets, because they're in good matchups and they're cheap, like Curse and Anderson. How much is Robbie Anderson?
I do like the Jets. He's 6.5 on FanDuel. Curse is 6K.
Yeah, wow.
So,
yeah. Robbie Anderson is 5.2 on DraftKings.
He's good, man. He's a good player.
Javon Curse is only 4.2.
He's had a touchdown in 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, man. I love Robbie Anderson. Yeah. That dude is just an athletic. He's so athletic, and he's got great hands. That dude is great.
That whole wide receiving core has great hands. They seem to catch everything.
Yeah. It's just like the only one with upside is Robbie, but they could all catch. And Jeremy Curley suspended. Jeremy Curley just got suspended. He was the number 3 option, well, really the number 4 option behind ASJ. But that means there's going to be more targets to go around for those other guys. So keep that in mind. Let's move
true.
on.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move it on over. Cincinnati at Tennessee. What are your thoughts here?
Well, I don't know. I mean, first thoughts, obviously, AJ Green is always in play. I think Tennessee's pass defense is pretty weak.
Yo, how did he not get suspended? How did Mike Evans get suspended and he didn't? That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No, not at all. Like, AJ Green clearly instigated that whole thing, and
he threw punches.
Just choked the guy out and threw punches.
Threw him on the ground like an idiot. Maybe they felt bad for him because he looked stupid punching a guy with a helmet on. But and listen, it must have been bad because AJ's not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like AJ's very soft spoken. No, he's quiet. He's not like a. So he must have really been getting to him.
Yeah. I texted my dad that I was like, yeah, AJ Green's a real quiet guy. So something must have been going on there for him to do that. Like that was weird. But I don't know. This game to me kind of seems lower scoring. Not much that I'm interested really at all. I don't know. I don't really like playing any Bengals, and Tennessee. My favorite part of Tennessee is the run game, and it's kind of muddled right now, with DeMarco and Derrick Henry. So they kind of seem to be splitting carries as it goes, and I just don't really have all that much interest in this game.
Yeah, man, I don't blame you either. It's a low implied total. Like you said, AJ Green seems like a pretty good play here. But just in general, it just seems like a rougher kind of matchup. I don't really like taking defenses against Mariota, man. He could just score randomly, dude. He could throw a bomb and hit you. He could run for it. He not a guy.
He doesn't seem to turn the ball over either, so it's not a great defense to target. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's just not a guy that I love, But so I'm not really sure how to approach the game. I'd love to have a formula. If anything, I think we want to attack Tennessee's defense. They looked pretty good in their last game, but keep in mind who they were playing. I forgot who it was, but I know it was a very weak opponent because I picked them up in season long just because I like the matchup so much. But I don't remember who, and they did fine. They did just fine.
Tennessee I think they played Baltimore.
Baltimore, yes, with Mallet, without Flacco. So, yeah, this is a little bit different. I think as long as A.J. Green is playing, Dalton's a little bit better than Mallet. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but, he's better than that guy. So, I wouldn't expect the same results from the Tennessee defense. I guess, this is, Dalton's in consideration. Tennessee's defense has been bad all year. I'm not going to just they had a bye week and they had one good game. I'm not going to think that I can't take defenses against them. We thought Tennessee was going to be good this year defensively, and they haven't. They haven't all year. So I guess we could look at a guy like Dalton. It's just, it's kind of boring. And maybe a guy like Croft or something, but it's kind of boring, right?
Another play, I don't know what he is over at DraftKings, but Joe Mixon, Jeremy Hill's out. Or he's inactive for the game against the Jaguars, so we'll have to see how his injury's going. But if he's out, that's just one less variable for Joe Mixon to kind of complain about, the three-headed monster, if you want to call it that, in Cincinnati. So if you're just down to Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard that eases the play a little bit for me if I had to pull the trigger on him. But I think for me, it's just I think there's just a lot of options on the slate, and I don't think you have to force any of these guys in your lineup.
I would.
One thing I do want to say though is if AJ Green's not going to be highly owned, he seems to always go off when he's kind of low key under the radar, and when he's more chalky, it seems like he doesn't do all that well. That game against Buffalo, no one was talking about him, and I think you and I were saying on one of the shows that we did, Buffalo's bad against the number one wide receiver, and everyone's talking about AB and Julio, and he just got brushed under the rug, and he was 8% owned and went for 26. So always keep him in mind, and if it's looking on Saturday that no one's on him, he's definitely an interesting play.
It's a great spot for him. We like to take AJ Green on the road, and the matchup increase is going to be insane. So he could be a good pivot if you think a lot of people are going to play. It's going to be hard for people to play Brown and Bell. Brown and Green together. So if you want to, pivot, maybe find out see which ones are more popular as we go on throughout the week, and maybe pivot to the other. But we know AJ Green on the road is a thing, and Tennessee's defense has been terrible all year, with the exception of last week.
Yep.
Move on here. Let's talk about Minnesota at Washington.
Yeah. All these guys for Minnesota are interesting. Minus the quarterback. I think they're all really good players. Jerick McKinnon, I would prefer him in Minnesota on that turf. I know he has had a good game on the road in London. That was on turf, I believe, as well. A little different, and then against the Bears, he did play well in Chicago. He's just been a monster, 23, 22, 23 FanDuel points. So at 6.6K, you can't just brush past him. You definitely have to look into him. I don't think Washington's anything scary. Yeah, they're not great against the run. 17th best in the NFL. And they lost their defensive lineman that they just drafted, Jonathan Allen from Alabama, so that's a big loss. Also, Washington's a little banged up, so I could see the game script going more run heavy. But at the same time, Latavius Murray has seen an increase in carries, 15, 18, and 19 in the last couple games here. So that's scary, a couple vultures, and you're tilting hard on McKinnon. Stephon Diggs and Thielen are always in play. They're great wide receivers in the league. It's just a matter of if they can get the ball from Case Keenum, and they got a pretty tough matchup against Breland and Josh Norman. So they're interesting GPP plays because there's always that upside for them, but they draw a pretty tough matchup here. And then Kyle Rudolph is always kind of an under the radar tight end who's pretty consistent, but I don't see a huge ceiling for him. That's all I got. I don't really have much interest in Washington against Minnesota at all. Minnesota's a pretty solid defense, so I don't really want to attack them anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly think this game is going to go in the favor of Washington, and that's because Minnesota's defense is so good. And with that said, I think we could see some funnel activity. Washington's pass defense has actually been pretty good this season. Ranked 6th against number 1 receivers, 7th against number 2 receivers, 12th against other receivers. Where they've struggled is against tight ends and running backs. With that said, Rudolph, I think is okay because they'll use him in the red zone if they need to, if they get down there. But the guy that I really like is probably McKinnon, and I know that you're right. Murray's been kind of getting more targets, but it's not really the run defense itself that Washington struggled with. It's pass catching backs, and McKinnon is that guy. So I think that my favorite plays from that side is going to be McKinnon and Rudolph. Those are probably going to be my two favorite plays. Washington's actually ranked 28th against the tight ends. We haven't seen Rudolph get used this year like we have in years past. But I think they're not really going to have a choice because, like you said, the corners for Washington, especially Norman, have been playing well this year. And it's not like he's got world beater receivers that can overcome that kind of matchup. So don't get me wrong, I like Diggs and Thielen a lot, but they're going to have their hands full. And Keenum's on the road. So that's just my personal opinion.
Washington ranks 30th versus pass catching running backs as well. Yeah. So it's a really good spot for McKinnon. What is he priced over there at DraftKings?
I think like 6'6". He's priced up, but he deserves it. His volume's been there. He's gotten less than 16 touches in his last X amount of games, and his targets. He got 10 targets against Cleveland.
That's interesting because he's 6'6" on DraftKings or on FanDuel.
That's a great price. Yeah, then I would think that on FanDuel that's a great price for him.
Yeah, I mean he scored 23 points in 3 of his last 4 games, and the one where he didn't was against Baltimore, who's a really good defense. So
yeah. As far as Washington, I think I'm kind of off completely. Like Vernon Davis is a guy I like to play, but not against this defense. This defense is too damn good. So I think that's where
they're just a mess at wide receiver too.
Yeah, they are just a mess, man. They're just really just a mess. That's exactly it. Let's move on. Let's talk about Houston visiting the Rams. Unfortunately, Houston lost to Deshaun Watson. Terrible news, and it's not looking too good for him from here. So it is looking pretty damn good for Goff and the Rams and Gurley though. So talk to me here, Cam.
Yeah, so I'll still start Watson anyway. I just love him that much. No, I'm just kidding. Jared Goff. This is like a really good spot. Wasn't TC saying something how was it? Oh no, shoot, that was the Colts. Never mind. I'm mixing up who it was. But I mean Houston's been getting like torched through the air recently, so Goff's definitely in a good position. Something that is interesting though is he's actually played better like on the road this year than he has at home. I don't know if there's anything to that. Like most of his higher scoring games have been on the road, like at San Fran, at Dallas, at the Giants. Granted, one of the games was against the Seahawks, but then Arizona was, I don't know, Indy at home, like week 1 obviously, but 16 points. Something to look into, I guess, but it just seems like more of his upside games are on the road. Todd Gurley's obviously in play. He's 9.6 though now on FanDuel, which is like, that's above Lev Bell on this slate. And Lev Bell's getting Indy. I still think like Houston's an okay defense. They're not great anymore with all the injuries, but I don't know. It seems like too much to pay for Gurley at 9.6. That's just me personally. Obviously, like I'm not gonna be on. I guess it's not obvious, but I'm not gonna be on any of the Texans just because the loss to Watson. Like I think Savage just sucked last week, so I'm gonna wait and see if they can get those weapons the ball, and if they can figure out a way to get those weapons the ball, then I'll consider them. But until I see it, I don't want to pull the trigger. And kind of like we were talking about the beginning of the show, these like wide receivers for the Rams, it's kind of you gotta pick the right one on that day. So, but Rams defense, I believe, is the highest price defense on FanDuel for the slate this week. So it's kind of interesting. Obviously going up against Tom Savage, and they've had good games this year. They're a really solid defense. Wade Phillips is their defensive coordinator. So they're one of those teams where if you're paying up at defense, definitely consider, because they have a solid scheme and they're in a good spot against a bad quarterback. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, I'm not too big on the Rams defense. I'm not convinced. I don't want to pay up for them. They were supposed to be pretty good this year. They looked like garbage early in the season. They looked good against the Giants, but it was the Giants. The Giants are missing Odell Beckham. They're missing Brandon Marshall. They have nobody. Their offensive scheme is a mess. So, like, I think the way they looked good was more of a proponent of the Giants being bad than it was on them being good. I don't like Savage. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I like Savage. But I don't necessarily know if I could play Nuke or Fuller.
Right.
But I respect their talent level. So if they have a matchup against a team like the Rams, like even if the Rams, like I would expect the Rams to blow these guys out. I would expect the Rams to get ahead, and the only concern is then you're worried about some garbage time. You know what I mean? Like then you're worried about Savage just opening it up, throwing bombs to Fuller and Nuke, and the Rams just not need, because we've seen the Rams get ahead early in games and just kind of step off the gas pedal a little bit. Not so much with the offense, but with their defense. They've kind of just said, hey, we got a lead, forget about it. You know what I mean? So I think that there's other defense that I like better. That's all.
100%.
I just don't think I want to pay up for them because I think of these other high-priced defenses, they're not as good to me as the other ones. So
yeah.
If they were cheap, then yeah. If they were cheap, I'd be like, it's a bargain. I'll take it. I'll take my chances. But to pay up full price for that, a defense that's kind of been unproven to me, even against Savage, I don't think I want to. But I do agree that they're in a good spot for sure. I'm off of Gurley this week, and the main reason I'm off of Gurley, Cam, is because of what we just said. Houston's actually been pretty good against pass-catching running backs, and so if Gurley's pass-catching upside is gone, I don't want anything to do with him, especially not on FanDuel where he's ridiculously priced. If you want to play Gurley, play him on DraftKings where he's 8-7. I can't believe he's priced more than Lev Bell. Like that's insane.
Exactly.
On FanDuel. So yeah, I'm off of the Gurley train this week. It's a good game script for him. I expect Goff to get ahead here. I expect, the Rams to come out, and it's a great game script. But again, we need touchdowns, especially on FanDuel. You need touchdowns. So at his price, you need at least 2 of those touchdowns. And the way, you're not guaranteed that from Gurley. And if they get too far ahead, they just won't put him in the game.
Yep, exactly. Well, we saw that last week.
We saw it last week with the Giants.
Yeah, or whatever it was. They put 2 different guys in there, I think, at the end, and Malcolm Brown and someone else.
Yeah. One thing I will say is Houston is ranked 30th against number 2 wide receivers and 30th against other wide receivers in general, 13th against number 1 receivers. So this could be a spot where maybe a guy like Cooper Kupp and Watkins get maybe some more looks, especially Cooper Kupp. He's somebody that's interesting because, like you said, his rate. Last week, I get why you went there. The red zone targets. That's why you went there. And this is a situation where I can kind of see them riding Gurley to get to the red zone and then using Goff to get it in the end zone. And so you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think Kupp, going right back to Kupp, I think that's a fine play this week. I think Goff is okay, but you're paying for it, and keep in mind that the game script might not go in his favor. But Goff has been efficient, so I'm not going to go against a guy that just did good for me the week before. Let's talk about Dallas visiting Atlanta, Cam.
All right, let me find this on FanDuel quick. Dallas visiting Atlanta. Where are we at? Where are we, Dallas? There we are.
Game,
I'm looking.
I'm
looking. Right. It's right by the one that I just clicked. I'm going way too far. Yeah, Dak's been really good this year. He's been so consistent as well. Outside of that crummy game in Washington, where we kind of could cross it off for the most part, besides the run games, he's been awesome. 30, 29, 26, 23, 22. So. He's priced up now, though. Keep that in mind. 8.8 on FanDuel. Atlanta's defense is okay. I respect their head coach and everything. Or their head coach, who's kind of their defensive coordinator as well. They're nothing I think they're decent, but at the same time, they're nothing that's gonna scare me away from anything. I think they have a chance to. Do decent, but not anything. They ranked 32nd, though, versus the number 2 wide receiver, which is something we could exploit. So we saw this week, they get Beasley involved and Williams, and Dez kind of just gets left out somewhat. So I don't know. I'm never on Dez. He just seems like such a low-ceiling guy to me, especially this year. He's maxed out at 15.8, so... I'm not going to be touching him. Julio's got that leg injury now. We'll have to look to the extent of that. And then just this Atlanta offense as a whole, Steve Sarkisian. I don't even want to get started on Steve Sarkisian, man. He pisses me off so much. He just doesn't use Freeman or any of these weapons at all like they were using last year when they were pretty much a Super Bowl championship team. I like Sanu the most probably out of any of these wide receiver options in this game. It's been pretty consistent, 10 targets, 7 targets, then he dropped down to 3, but he's had 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He seems like a guy they're looking for in that red zone area. I'm not going to be playing Ryan at all, even though this is a good matchup for him. Dallas struggles against the pass. We've seen Matt Ryan underperform all year, and I'm not going to be paying 7.7K when I'll just pay up somewhere else at quarterback.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Is it my understanding that Zeke is gonna play? Did I read earlier that like he was?
So he has like a court ruling on Thursday or something, I think. So yeah, Thursday 2 p.m. So like to see if he can overturn his 6-game suspension. So we'll see. That'll be another fiasco that we'll get news. We'll do research all week, and then we'll get news that he's not playing.
Yeah, if he's playing, he's obviously in a smash spot. If he's not, I would still be willing to play one of these Dallas running backs against Atlanta because their defense has been so bad. And I truly believe Zeke is very good, but I also believe a lot of his success is attributed to his offensive line. So I do think, like, for example, like, and this is just a small, tiny little thing, but like, freaking Alfred Morris, he got one attempt against Kansas City. He got 11 yards on that one attempt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we saw Alfred Morris in years past and never be able to do anything. And now all of a sudden he comes in, he gets one 11-yard run. Like, I'm not sure the circumstance, and you really can't use that to quantify anything. But if you think about it, the offensive line is damn good. It's the same reason that Dak looks so damn good as a rookie. You know, they're talented guys, but put them under pressure. Put them in Jacoby Brissett's spot and see if you're seeing the same Zeke and Dak. I don't think so.
No, you know not at all.
So, you know, I think we can look at those guys, and they're cheap too. I want to say this is the spot for Matt Ryan. I want to say it. We just, like you said, man, their offense has just been a mess. But, like, if there was ever a spot for Matt Ryan, like, one thing I'll say about Atlanta, to their credit, last week was their third straight road game. So, like, that could be tough. That could be really tough. They're back home now. Dallas's defense is not good. I'm not going to say that, oh, well, they look pretty good against Kansas City. No, I think that the Chiefs, just their game plan was shit, you know, and Kareem Hunt couldn't get going, and, you know, that was it. But the game script just didn't go in their favor. But, yeah, I think in this spot, I can see Atlanta doing some stuff here, man. Like, they didn't look as bad Julio's drops look pretty bad. But, yeah, Julio's a big one. If Julio plays, I think Freeman and Julio definitely in play here. If you think that Atlanta will be trailing, which I think that's going to depend on if Zeke plays for a lot of people, you could look at Coleman. But, you know, Freeman, we got to see. He's been a little hobbled. But, yeah, Julio, I'm always going to like Julio.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That's just that offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, like, he just, oh, man, I just can't play any Falcons right now with the way he's, like, running their offense and stuff. Like, Atlanta should be putting up so many more points than they are, and it's just disappointing, and I don't want to pay $7.7K for the name when he hasn't really done much this year. I could go up 500 more on FanDuel and get Stafford versus Cleveland, you know? Like,
yeah, no, I get it. But I'm excited to hear your take on this next game. It's the last game for the DraftKings slate, and we'll discuss the late game for FanDuel, but Giants at San Francisco, man. Two terrible defenses, two faster-paced teams. What are you thinking here?
I don't know, man. It's interesting because it's like it's kind of like basketball's been or whatever with like Phoenix, Brooklyn or whatever. It seems like those are kind of the games to target when you get just like two really bad teams going against each other. It makes them.
We saw it earlier, good. The 49ers and the Colts. They had a big blow-up game, and you know, yeah, it's true.
Exactly, because they can't guard it. Like, these guys are still NFL like weapons, so it's like these guys are good. Carlos Hyde's good. Like, he'll be able to. I like him in this spot. He's been getting. I'm putting to rest like the Carlos Hyde narrative of him getting carries, whatever, away from Matt Breida. Like, he's fine. He's their like leading running back, so don't worry about that. He's been consistently getting around like 12, 13, 14 carries. But he's been getting like massive amounts of targets, 8, 9, 11. And he got 9 receptions for 84 yards last game against Arizona. I'll have to look into what San Fran does against the pass catching running back. But with Beathard, I think he's been averaging like 8.5 receptions per game with Beathard at quarterback. So that's always like a nice little thing to add to a running back's floor. He's 6.7K. It's a good spot for him, especially against the Giants' run defense that we've seen. Just in general, they're bad, but we've seen them get beat up by the run game for sure this year. I think maybe with Garcon out and Kittle out now, it even funnels more of the usage towards Hyde. So I think he's in a really good spot this week. I really liked Kittle too this week against the Giants. They have given up a pass touchdown to the tight end every single game this year. Every single game. So I was just going to go Kittle at 5K for the Giants or against the Giants and just roll with that. But now they have Garrett Selleck and just signed Logan Paulson.
Yeah, he ain't going to get no run. He don't know the plays. Garrett Selleck, 4 targets against Arizona.
I know, man. I know. I have him in my dummy lineup right now because if he catches a touchdown, like whatever,
he could against the Giants. They're that bad.
He's going to. Like
I was
texting my friends. I was like, "There's no way this guy does not score." Like, what is he on DraftKings?
2.5.
Yeah. So if he catches a touchdown, he's already at like pretty much what you want from the. So I don't mind that play at all. I mean, Eli's been super bad, but like so has San Fran's secondary. So I like Sterling Shepard. He just gets peppered with targets, and he's definitely in play. And then Evan Ingram now is getting up there with like Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, and Gronkowski pricing. So I think we'll get to that game later, but I think I'd rather pay for Gronk at 8.1K against Denver than I would Evan Ingram 7.4 against San Fran. But definitely a good play. He's been eaten this year, so he's a really good player, and he's just a mismatch for everyone that goes against him.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think this is a game where I want to do some research. I really want to dig in. There's a good combination of value here. One thing the San Francisco 49ers have been good against, the only thing, is the tight ends. They're actually ranked third DVOA against tight ends. So that makes me want to push over towards Shepard and maybe even Roger Lewis. I'm not crazy about playing Roger Lewis, but he's 3-1 on DraftKings, and like this is a situation where like all his receivers are in great matchups. So Sterling Shepard, the targets are gonna go there. So I think on DraftKings and a PPR site, you just go there. I think Eli's in a great spot here, and I don't mind Beat Hard on the other side. I prefer not to play Beat Hard, but like Hyde is interesting because I know his touches are down, but his targets are way up. He's being targeted. He's a huge part of this passing game, and we saw what Gurley did. I told you, Gurley almost broke a 50-yard touchdown from a screen. So like, I'm with you on the Hyde call. If I'm not going to play Hyde, if I want to flip the script, I think Darkwa is also very interesting. He got a decent workload, 16 touches against the Rams. He got 9 against Seattle, but that was a gain script thing. Against Denver, he got 21. And he got over 100 yards against Denver. So I do like, I like him in this matchup. He should see a bunch of opportunity. Yeah. He doesn't get too many targets in the pass game, but like, I don't think they're going to need to. I think it's just they're going to use him to hand it off. But the Giants have been trying to run the ball. They get behind and then they can't anymore. So I think I love this game for fantasy goodness, man. Marquise Goodwin. We saw what Watkins busted play wide open. Tell me, Goodwin had 8 targets last week. 8 targets. Dang. They were playing what? They played the Cardinals, right?
Yep.
They played the Cardinals, who was a much better defense than the Giants, right? And like he got 8 targets. If he would have completed some of those, he would have been great. And their prices are crazy. You can load up on running back if you played some of these receivers in this game. So yeah, I love this game.
With Garcon and Kittle out too, like those guys are going to get a massive uptick in targets.
Yes, and this is the matchup that we wanted in. So yeah, I would have to agree with you. Talk to me about the last game, Cam. FanDuel only, New England at Denver.
Okay. Yeah, so we obviously all know like Denver is a good pass defense, but last week they got torched by Carson Wentz. But Denver at home is a different defense. And man, this Denver team's been frustrating. Like they just cannot they get behind right away and they can't establish a run game. They just get so far from the run game that I think it's almost to a point where you literally cannot play. You can't play any Denver running backs, I don't think. Like, it's so disappointing. CJ Anderson is a good running back, I think. Like, I think he's a pretty talented guy, and he runs better at home, but I'm just not going to play him the way that Denver's been getting behind and getting away from the run. So now we have Brock Osweiler in for Denver. It's been confirmed that he's starting again. Threw 2 interceptions again last week. But he does like target Demaryius Thomas a lot. Like, he's for sure his favorite guy to throw to. So I definitely am going to have some interest in Demaryius Thomas. Last week, he went 12 targets, 8 receptions, 70 and a touchdown. So that was his first game with Brock Osweiler. And last year, he caught like 5-something touchdowns, I believe, with averaged really good games with Brock Osweiler. So I would definitely play Thomas. And then on the other side, Gronk is my favorite target for New England. We've been talking about it all year at Wise Take. Like, Denver funnels towards the middle of the field. They funnel towards the tight end. So this is just a great spot for the best tight end in the league. He's 8.1K on FanDuel, but he's definitely worth the price in this matchup. I can't see him not getting 16 points at least. We've seen tight ends all year just destroy Denver, so I like that a lot, especially with Tom Brady, and they are coming off a bye, so there's no other coach that you want to game plan for you coming off a bye. That's about all I got for this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree, man. Like, I'm not going to look too deep into this late one because I'm mostly going to be playing on DraftKings, but
okay.
Yeah, I would agree with you, man. I think it's a smash spot for Gronk. We saw what that Burton did. Burton came through for the Wise Take Nation. That was a big Wise Take call, and he came through for us with a touchdown against Denver. Denver looked atrocious. I expect Denver's defense to play a little bit better here. I'm not saying like don't get me wrong, that 4-3 price tag, even just because it's Denver, it's intriguing. They've been super good at home. Their defense has been phenomenal at home, but it's Brady coming off of a bye. So, and we talked about a bunch of other good defenses, and we talked about a lot of value in some of these games, like the Giants and the Jets, and a lot of value in those games. So, yeah, there's just no need for me. But, yeah, man, I think the Gronk call, I love that call. He's probably the only guy from that game that I like on either side. But I do like the Gronk call.
I agree. Like, 5 games against Denver, too. Gronk in his career has 30 receptions, 371 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he's averaging like 75 and probably like 0.75 touchdowns a game. So
yeah, with the guy with his ceiling, yeah, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, and like you and I were talking about too, especially with that value that we just kind of saw a little bit in that Giants San Fran game. Like, I know FanDuel makes it so hard, but don't be afraid to like pay down at wide receiver. There's still really good options, and I know there's a lot of salary you can allocate towards the wide receiver, but like, try and like be a little different, and there's good options. There's good lower options at wide receiver, and I've been noticing more just looking at the like winning GPP builds. Is it seems like they're not afraid to like use 2 lower tier wide receivers that get value, because on FanDuel especially, it's a lot easier for those lower wide receivers to hit that 3x mark than it is for like guys like AB or Julio or AJ Green that are priced at like 8.5, 9 to 9K. Like, they have to have a really, really good game to get that value. But when a guy like Marvin Jones at 6.4K gets he had 107 and 2 touchdowns. He's at 26 tonight, 26 points at 6.4K. So don't be afraid to go down there, pick up a guy like Marvin Jones, Sterling Shepard, things like that, and then it lets you pay up at tight end. So
yeah,
don't just funnel all your salary towards the top guys like we were talking about. It's easy to do, but try not to force it. Sure.
You got to think outside the box if you want to take down some tournaments. Cam, this was fun, man. We got through the game by game, but now we're almost an hour and 15 minutes in, so we're going to wrap this up. It was a lot of fun, man. It was a first look, everybody, so keep in mind that we haven't done any research. We're just taking off of, just telling you our first initial impressions. We're going to have another free YouTube podcast and iTunes podcast on Wednesday night. That'll be live. It'll be a 4-man with Matty Ice, Mr. Slim Gady, Paulie D, and hopefully Patio Joe. We'll confirm the cast, but that's going to be our midweek review. They'll go position by position to break down things from a different aspect after some news has come out, after some research is made. And then, of course, Cam's article will be out on Saturday. It'll be the FanDuel GPP article for WiseTake members only. Don't forget, go to wisetake.com, sign up for the All Sports Monthly plan. You get access to all the sports that we cover at the time, which right now is MMA, NBA, NFL. And the first 7 days are free. So if you try us up, sign up. If you don't like the service or you don't think it's for you, you can cancel within 7 days and you'll never be charged. So there's no excuse for you not to give us a shot. So with that said, please, if you're watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up, that like button. It means a lot to us. Subscribe to the channel. We're growing. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on iTunes, do me a favor. This is very important. Give us some 5-star reviews. Give us some 5-star reviews so we can bump up those charts. That's how it works. We need the reviews. So even if you watch us on YouTube, please head over to iTunes and give us some reviews there too. So for Cam, for myself, and the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.